kindly. So let's rise and welcome the State Minister. Let's remain standing. You may have a seat now. You're all welcome to this stakeholder engagement for the implementation of the plan of the Statistical National Development. I would ask Mr. Mwonge to begin with the technical presentation, and this will be followed by the welcoming remarks as requested.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. The Right Honorable Minister of State for Finance, the Chairman, Board of Directors, Right Honorable Head of the Prime Minister's Office, the Head of Development Unit, Delivery Unit in the Office of the Prime Minister, the Executive Director, distinguished guests in your respective capacities, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm going to share with you the journey for the Prime for National Statistical Development so that we get, a feel of where we are and how far we've come. So next, please. That is just an outline that I'll be taking you through. Just as a way of introduction, the demand for statistics has increased over time. As some of you may recall, in the 70s, it was more about economic statistics, GDP numbers and prices. But now, it is not only the economic series, but there are other elements of statistics which have come to the fore. Now, these changes in statistics come with the challenges and threats, but also opportunities, because then it requires that statistical offices and also the other stakeholders adjust to make sure that we respond to these requirements. Now, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, in collaboration with the ministries, departments, and agencies, including local government, adopted a strategic approach to effectively respond to these needs. And this was done through the development of the Plan for National Statistical Development. Next, please. Now, the Plan for National Statistical Development is as a result of a meeting that took place in Morocco, and which they call the Marrakech Plan of Action, that called for the development of what they call National Strategy for Development of Statistics, NSDS, but in Uganda we call it Plan for National Statistical Development. And the reason is why we changed from N to a P is because we have a survey we call National Service Delivery Survey. So we wanted to distinguish the two. And in line with the Marrakech Plan of Action, we developed the Plan for National Statistical Development. And the first plan was in 2005-06 up to 11-12, which was really a framework for strengthening statistical development and production in Uganda. Now, the National Statistical System not only covers Ubos, it covers all of those agencies in government in Uganda that produce, use, and disseminate statistics. So think about the ministries, think about the agencies, and also the local governments. But there is also academia, research institutions, and the private sector. But all of those who generate statistics in one way or the other, which finds itself into the decision-making processes in the country at different levels, form part of the national statistical system. So it is a broad system that encompasses all the aspects of statistics in this country. Now, the second Plan for National Statistical Development was from 2013 to 2018, and when the National Development Plan 3 was mooted and finalized, it was extended. The National Plan 2 was extended to cover the NDP period. So that alignment was done, and so it was extended up to 2020. Next, please. Now, the current plan, which is the third national statistical development, the Plan for National Statistical Development, has been designed within the framework of the Agenda for Innovation, Modernization, and Transformation of the National Statistical System. Now, just like the previous ones, it's a framework for development of statistics across the national statistical system that I've mentioned. Okay? And in summary, it comprises all producers, they are suppliers of statistics, they are also users of statistics, academia, as well as the training institutions. Okay? So the Plan for National Statistical Development addresses the data demands emerging from the development agenda at all levels, both at local government level, national level, but also Uganda is signatory for a number of conventions within the region, the ESC, and also internationally. Okay? And so all of these require data to inform progress or changes that are occurring. And the PNSD encompasses all those. And it presents a strategic direction and thrust of the system in the next 5 years. In other words, how are we going to address all these requirements in the coming 5 years? And these 5 years are in line with the NDP3. Now, the development process, and to what extent is the PNSD aligned to the existing frameworks and agendas that government has subscribed to. In the first column, we look at the development agendas. We have the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. We have the Africa Agenda under the African Union, Agenda 2063. We have also the East African Community Vision 2050, and then the National Vision of 2040. Now, when you look at this development agenda, we also look at the strategies that correspond to the different agendas. And so we have the Cape Town Global Action for Sustainable Development Data, which tries to identify the indicators in the SDGs and how these are to be realized and populated. Then we have the Strategy for Harmonization of Statistics in Africa, the SASHA, and then the East African Community Regional Statistics Development Plan, and then, of course, the Plan for National Statistical Development, which speaks to the vision. And under all these, there are statistical frameworks within which we operate and principles. So we have the UN Fundamental Principles for Official Statistics, which guides us or which lays out the core principles that we must follow in the production of statistics. We have also the African Charter on Statistics and the East African Regional Statistics Act. Of course, at national level, we have the Uganda Bureau of Statistics Act. Next, please. Now, in all, we need to ensure that the Plan for National Statistical Development, given that it covers all the areas, is aligned to the National Development Plan 3. And one of the elements is that, of the alignment is that, statistics takes a center stage when you look at the NDP3. There is a sub-program under NDP3. Then the statistics actually falls under Program 18, Development Plan Implementation, with a specific objective of strengthening the capacity of a national statistical system to generate data for national development. And also, in terms of alignment, the timelines of the PNSD is in line with the timelines that the NDP3, recommends, including the results framework. Okay. So, looking at the strategic objectives under the PNSD, we try to align the PNSD 3 to the NDP 3 because it's the national planning framework upon which we anchor all the statistical initiatives. And in the NSS, as I mentioned, that the NSS covers the entire, all producers, suppliers, and users of statistics. So we need to form partnerships. We need to collaborate, and we need to work together. So this coordination is important if we are to deliver and achieve, the quality of statistics and the quantity that is needed across the country. So in so doing, we also need to ensure that if we are to compare over time, we need to have standardization of concepts. We need to standardize the way we collect data, the way we analyze, the way we publish and disseminate, so that there is coherence in the kind of statistics that we generate. And there are capacity constraints in the national statistical system. And so NDP3 emphasizes the need to build the capacity and provide the infrastructure, both soft and hard, including technical support where necessary, to ensure that the national statistical system is well capacitated to deliver given the increasing demand for statistics. And of course, the other challenge, the issue that we need to address is there are a number of us who are not so comfortable when you see so many tables. And so how do we increase the uptake of statistics? Maybe also we need to think about how we package the statistics, how we disseminate it. And so that we increase the utilization and uptake of the statistics that we generate. Now, the Plan for National Statistical Development tries to address the strategic objectives in the NDP3 by also looking at 4 areas: strengthening coordination, increasing statistical capacity, and strengthening systems for data production and development, and eventually enhancing dissemination and use of statistics. Next. Now, in designing the Plan for National Statistical Development, it was a process. It wasn't a Ubos affair, it was a consultative process that involved the assessment of the state of statistics. As I mentioned, indicated earlier, there was a Plan for National Statistical Development 2. And so there was a midterm evaluation and an end-term evaluation. Now, the outcome of the evaluations, informed the development of the NDP3, the PNSD3, excuse me. And so the drafting, not only did it inform the drafting of the Plan for National Statistical Development, the current plan, but also it informed the Uganda Bureau of Statistics Sector Strategic Plan. And we have also been supporting and working with ministries and local governments to develop strategic plans for statistics for the respective ministries and local governments, bearing in mind the outcome of what came out of the previous PNSD 2. And so we have also developed the monitoring and evaluation framework, which is also in line with the overall monitoring and evaluation framework of the Office of the Prime Minister and the other frameworks, just to ensure that whatever we develop corresponds and is well aligned with other existing frameworks. And of course, the last stage is as we continue to implement, we'll be able to continue to monitor, to evaluate ourselves and see how far we've gone in as far as implementing this program, disseminate the findings as much as possible. But in doing so, we have to make sure that what we produce is first validated and is fit for purpose. Okay. And so, and the PNSD, the strategic framework, the vision is to really come up with, to have a world-class national statistical system. That's where I want to be. And all of us have to work towards that. And the mission is to provide quality statistics and statistical services that support national and international development agenda. As I indicated, we subscribe to not only the development frameworks in country, but also the international obligations that require information and data, and we must report on those. And of course, the theme, as I indicated earlier, is the agenda for innovation, modernization, and transformation of the national statistical system. Our culture is evidence-based because we believe that with evidence, you can be able to confidently tell a story. Without evidence, you make a lot of assumptions. And you want to guide the assumptions so that they're informed by evidence. And the core values, the commitment to deliver, the integrity in when you are presenting all these statistics and producing it, we have to exercise professionalism at every stage and use orientation, as I mentioned earlier. We need to make sure that we respond to user needs. We produce what is demand-driven, and we do all that the users require to make sure that the uptake increases over time. Now, under the specific strategic goals, Under coordination, we'll continue. The outcome is to have a coherent national statistical system which is harmonized. And we hope that if we work together, we shall strengthen statistical advocacy, we increase that awareness creation within the national statistical system. Where the legal framework is still weak, we strengthen it, or we amend the act or the laws so that we are able to produce backed by the legal framework. Then we institutionalize coordination and management of statistics within the different ministries and agencies. Then we also broaden cooperation and partnerships. We may not be reaching out to each and every producer or supplier, but our wish is to make sure that we work more closely, because that way we'll be able to minimize and reduce on the duplication of effort, but also the duplication of resources that go towards production of the same statistics. Then develop mechanism for sustainable financing for statistics. I think one of the challenges the financing for statistics in some MDAs and local governments. So that's also a strategy which will help us as if we work together. We should be able to support one another in mobilizing resources for statistical production. And then, of course, the legal framework that I talked about. Next, please. Now, the second strategic goal is to develop the capacity to produce the statistics within the NSS. And we hope that we shall have a developed statistical capacity across the entire data value chain within the NSS. And we hope to strengthen human capital development across the entire statistical system, to institutionalize the human resource structures for statistics, and promote capacity building structures and mechanism within the MDAs and other producers of statistics. The third strategic goal is looks at data production and development, and we hope to increase the scope and the quality of statistics in the national statistical system. So we believe there are existing production processes which we need to strengthen as we implement robust statistical programs. We need to enhance compilation, management, and use of quality administrative data. As you know, we cannot do surveys for each and every data that is needed. There is a lot of administrative data that's generated daily by the ministries, departments, and agencies, and we need to exploit this potential and make sure that we utilize that rich data that exists. And together with the data from surveys, then we should be able to provide and support decision-making up to the lowest level of decision-making. That is now talking about the parish. So if we are to have data at parish level, we definitely have to rely heavily on the existing structures and the data that is generated from those structures. And that's through administrative data. So we need to promote data quality culture in the NSS by ensuring that we follow the core principles of production of statistics, the quality aspects of timeliness, processes that are used to collect it, and the methods, best practices in production and so on. So we need to make sure that we follow those across and share best practices. Then institutionalized generation and use of gender statistics. We are not yet there. We have moved a step, but gender, we need to make sure that in everything that we do, we ensure that gender aspects are not left unattended to. Then we need to adopt methodologies in statistical production and development. We need to adopt what is appropriate for a given level of statistical generation process, so that different requirements, different methodologies speak to specific requirements. But these methodologies need to be the methodologies that are tested, well tested, and well grounded. So we also need to adopt appropriate information and communication technologies in statistical production. We are gradually moving away from paper to speak to use technologies. And as we use technologies, of course it comes with challenges. So we need to prepare ourselves to meet the challenges, but also to move with the current trend that of technology advancement in the statistical production process. We also need to institutionalize the use of data from non-traditional data sources. These days, everyone has a smartphone. We generate a lot of statistics, okay, through the communications that you make. And so how do we tap into this big data that telecom companies generate? How do we utilize it to inform the different processes? Because that is a huge mass of statistics or data that is out there. And I believe that is a resource we can tap into. Okay. Now, the strategic goal 4 is enhancing dissemination, uptake, and use of statistics. So we are hoping that we need to work together to increase access and use of statistics. When you've generated statistics and you limit access to it, then its utilization becomes a bit of a challenge. So we need to increase access, but also increase use of statistics by presenting it in different ways, because we have different stakeholders. If we segment our audiences, then we realize that we need to package it differently depending on the kind of audience we are speaking to. So we need to develop an effective and efficient data dissemination system in the entire NSS. We need to establish an open data portal where one can easily go and access this information without going through the bureaucracies of the different institutions and agencies. And also we need to strengthen data user capacity to access and use data. There are those who may want to access data but have challenges of actually doing the analysis or generating the statistics that they need. So we need to make sure that we provide the mechanisms to support all those who may have challenges in transforming the information in the ways that they want to use them. Okay? So as far as implementation is concerned, the Bureau will, according to, as per the Act, we're supposed to produce, coordinate, and disseminate official statistics. But as we do this, we are responsible for the execution of the PNSD, but of course we are not going to do it alone. As I mentioned, we are going to do it in collaboration with the ministries, departments, and agencies, higher local governments, and civil society organizations, and the academia, because all of us are part of the national statistical system. We are also going to develop the national statistical system-wide strategies and policies and guidelines, setting standards for the generation and dissemination of statistics. As I indicated, that we need, if we are to compare, and if we are to aggregate statistics from different agencies, then we need to make sure that the production process, we standardize definitions and concepts. We also standardize production processes. And there it becomes easier to aggregate because we are using the same definitions. Also, since we are dealing with the NSS, coordination is important. We need to work together, we need to coordinate and ensure that we monitor and we monitor and evaluate the statistical programs that are being implemented in the national statistical systems. And of course, all of us, each one has got different competencies. The Bureau cannot do everything, and also some MDAs cannot do everything. So we need to partner with the academia, because probably they do a lot more research than what to do, or they go deeper in terms of the analytical work. So we need to establish partnerships to make sure that we build a strong foundation, a strong team that can respond to all requirements in the national statistical system and the country. Now, the MDAs, higher local governments, and civil society will definitely design and implement their STATISTICAL plans for statistics within the framework that I've talked about. And of course, we hope that in so doing, we'll be kind of like sharing out these responsibilities, but most importantly, we'll be able to know who produces what and the kind of statistics that we can easily tap into to inform the different planning processes. Now, of course, the MDAs have to develop the strategic plan for statistics. A number of them have already developed the strategic plan for statistics. We are working together, even local governments. We have also started on the process of developing sector strategic plan for statistics. Actually, a number of them are updating their strategic plans because they had strategic plans before, and so the civil society. So we are continue to support and work together, because once you have a strategic plan, then we believe that we can be able to work together to get resources to support the kind of strategies or the kind of data needs that you have identified in the strategic plans that you have developed as a ministry, as an agency, or as a local government. Okay. Next, please. In terms of the coordination structures, and the reason partly why we are here is that I think you have also got that pamphlet. Since this is a national STATISTICAL system, we have at a higher level, we need to have the high level steering committee, and our parent ministry, Ministry of Finance, is taking lead there, and they also the representation from the different stakeholders from the NSS. Now at the policy level, we have the board of directors of the bureau who will guide the policy, and will be able to feed into the higher steering committee, and the chairman of the board is be chairing that part. Now at the national interagency STATISTICAL committees, because this is the level where different agencies come together and share strategies on how to implement these programs. The ED of the bureau will chair that. Now at the technical level, where we look at the technical committees and all the technical aspects to that effect, the director responsible for statistical coordination, the portfolio I hold currently, will be able to handle that. And then we'll be working with the MDAs and local governments and the civil society to make sure that, as at the operational level, the head of department planning will be able to support this process. So the structure, from the bottom up to the political level, we hope that we have to work together and we have to support each other. And we need the blessing of the political office to be able to implement these programs. So I think in conclusion, of course, we need to monitor and evaluate these programs. The plan for national statistical development, as I said, is guided by the monitoring and evaluation framework. Of course, this is a 5-year plan. There has to be a mid-term evaluation. There has to be an end term, because we need to assess ourselves how far we have been able to implement what we set out to do. Now, each MDA each MDA and also the NDP program areas, higher local governments, there are areas that have to be reported on, and there are logical frameworks that have been established. So we have to make sure that as NSS, we populate and fill all the gaps that are in the NDP program. But of course, to ensure consistency and achievement of the results, the M&E system will have to be enhanced regularly. And as I said, we'll be working with the other M&E frameworks to make sure that we monitor and inform the implementation process. Of course, Ubos is developing an automated M&E system that will share with MDAs to simplify the monitoring process, and we believe it will ease the kind of work that is associated with the M&E frameworks. Financing, of course, the PNSD requires resources. This is the national STATISTICAL system. The resources we require to adequately respond to all the data requirements is huge. And so statistics is a public good. There are many people who should use it. And so the Bureau will engage with the parent ministry to ensure that statistical programs are funded. We believe that, and we must say that government has supported statistical production, immensely, and Ubos programs have actually benefited from this. But we believe we can do much more if we, also the entire NSS is well resourced, because now this is not only the Bureau, but the national statistical system. Now, as also indicated, to get resources, we also need to mobilize. We need to do advocacy. We need to make sure that also our partners in statistical production, contribute to this process. And in so doing, we believe we should be able to close all the funding gaps. The chief executive officers, MDAs and local governments are also encouraged to allocate substantial resources. We've been, through our engagements with some of the MDAs and local governments, it seems when there is a budget cut, I think the first budget line that suffers is the one of statistics. And so how do we make sure that it ceases to suffer from that catastrophe of always being deleted, so that at least it moves to that profile, and we increase the utilization of statistics. As a bureau, and working, of course, supported by the ministry and the board, we'll continue to engage the development partners to supplement the resources that government earmarks commits towards the production of statistics in this country. In conclusion, I think proper monitoring of service delivery at all levels requires us to not only look at census data or surveys, but also to exploit the administrative data that exists. And this is an area that we have embarked on, which we need to also to continue, exploring. Now, these improvements in the management of data from the lowest level of service delivery to the center will strengthen compilation of community statistics. And now we are talking about the parish model. So we need to look at the data generation process at that level. But quality is key. So if quality is ensured at that level, then at the center we shall receive quality. But if we fail to get quality at the lowest level, then you know what, garbage in, garbage out. So I think, thank you very much, and over to you, moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Mwange. James, for your information, Mr. Mwange is one of the longest serving in the Bureau. He has gone through all the ranks, apart from the ED position. So he's in the making, maybe. So thank you for that presentation. You realize that having the technical bits first is really hard, okay? But it helps us to bring us on board. So thank you, Mr. Mwange, for bringing us on board on the PNSD. You've reliably informed us that this is the third, and it is running from 2020, 21 to 24, 25, and it's basically made for the whole national statistical system. For all of us who are here, I would love to paint a picture of what he has said using a local activity that we normally do. In one way or another, we have participated in arranging for weddings, isn't it? If you haven't, then any other function, however small, okay? So if I would assume you're the bureau and you're organizing that function, we normally collect information before the wedding, or a function, or a small invite at home. I'll do it at home level. Maybe you're expecting visitors. The first thing you will ask, how many are they? Isn't it? What religion? Isn't it important to know the religion? Women, female, male, children, isn't it? So by doing that, when you've collected that information, very useful information, they told us we need to disaggregate our information by gender, isn't it? And gender has so many things, from disability to sex to place of origin, you get it? So having collected all that information, you need to analyze, okay? I've been informed we shall have a disabled person coming. What will the access be, isn't it? For that function at home. I've been informed there is a Muslim, so you would know there is no cooking. Okay? So that's what we do at the Bureau. We collect, we analyze, and finally we have to disseminate. Okay? Now, what we call disseminating, that's when you say we expect a total of 30 people, of which 2 are disabled physically, so that would mean they need access. We have 20 women versus 100 men, okay? So when you have that idea, you're disseminating, and finally, you can plan the function very well. So that is a summary of what we normally do, and we can apply it to the implementation of the plan for statistical development. So this plan has been made with your consultations. We have visited you on one-on-one in groups, and we have finally developed and launched it. And we are here to engage you. We need your cooperation. Just like you would handle the function, we need your resource mobilization. Okay? I've seen people mobilizing resources on WhatsApp. We won't do that. But one way is to have you here. Okay? So you're welcome to this important meeting. And with that little picture, I would love to ask the high table, the members, the honorable ministers, to come and sit at the high table so that we can have the welcoming remarks, the launch, and the closing remarks. You're welcome. As they take their seats, I take this opportunity to once again welcome the Honorable State of Planning, that is Honorable Amos Lugolovi. I would also take this opportunity to welcome the Honorable Minister from Local Government, that is Honorable Victoria Rusoke Businje. You're welcome, Madam. Now this brings us to have the welcoming remarks. Now that we are on board on what the PNSD is, and it has been simplified. You're welcome, Dr. Mukiza, to welcome your guests. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
The Honorable Minister of State, Finance, Planning, Government in charge of planning, Honorable Ministers present here, the permanent secretaries, the chairman, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, and the board members present here, senior government officials, the representative of the development partners, representatives from ministries, departments, and agencies, the media fraternity, the Ubos staff, and all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of management and staff of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, and on my own behalf, I would like to thank you for having found time, all of you, amidst your busy schedule, to participate in the launch of the implementation structures for the third Plan for National Statistical Development. We thank you from the bottom of our heart for honoring this invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have heard from the Director for Statistical Coordination, PNSD brings to the fore important and daunting challenges to the national statistical system. The goals that you have seen here aim to transform the national statistical system into a vibrant and responsive ecosystem that satisfies users' demands. The new reporting requirements on various development initiatives highlighted by the previous speaker and the data revolution have triggered tremendous demand for data quality. Data revolution has even created the paradigm shift in the management and modernization of statistics and broadened the data ecosystem of the national statistical system, embracing statistical value chain. We are moving beyond the traditional government, ministry, department, and agencies and local governments to embracing the civil society organizations and cultural institutions. All of them are actors in the national statistical system and important, and working together we shall achieve the purpose for which the Bureau of Statistics Act was enacted in 1998. Ladies and gentlemen, Uganda's statistical system is part of and influenced by a wider global statistical system, as we have seen, right from the UN Fundamental Principles of Official Statistics, the African Charter on Statistics, the regional initiatives. All of these are nested in a harmonious way to achieve consistency and coherence across space That brings the challenge in the midst of the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment characterized by business competitiveness, business cycles, technological advancements, global pandemics, and so forth. And this means that statistics has to also environment. Amidst all of these uncertainties and new innovations, statistics remain in the of sound economic policies. The plan for national social development, Honorable Minister, and other cabinet ministers present here, gives a framework that governs statistical development and production in the country, purposely for strengthening the statistical capacities within the national statistical system. Uganda already implemented 2 series of a 5-year plan for national statistical development. The first one ran from 2007 to 2013. The second one, 2013-14 to 2017-18, which was later extended by 2 years, 2019-20, in order to align it with the new national plan. I will not go through the goals because they have already been highlighted. Honorable Chief Guest, I run straight to the expectations of the PNSD. Expectations are 5. We expect PNSD to address the unprecedented demand for data, for development data against the backdrop of changing statistical landscape, including expanding and diversifying data ecosystem. PNSD 3 is also expected to promote innovation, modernization, transformation of the national statistical system following the Cape Town Global Action Plan for Sustainable Development Data Guidelines. And this Cape Town Development Plan, Action Plan, is always used to measure the performance of the national statistical system. When we achieve about 7 to 9, then we are performing well. Later on, I think the coordinator will tell us where we are. The third expected result of the PNSD is to leverage the foundation of the data revolution for sustainable development that underline data deluge in terms of volume, velocity, and variety. The speed at which events are changing must be matched by that development of statistics, and you need to produce variety of statistics. The fourth is to integrate traditional and non-traditional data sources. Chief guest, ladies and gentlemen, we have mastered a conduct of national censuses and surveys. We are trying to improve and modernize the administrative data generated by MDAs and local governments. The state, the evaluation of the second PNSD showed that the state of the administrative data was very poor, largely because the actors were ill-prepared to handle the ever-changing data that they generate while performing their functions. So this PNSD 3 will try to modernize and improve administrative data. The other source is the non-traditional data sources. And this one, the biggest challenge is the big data, which is over there and must be harnessed and mainstreamed into official statistics using the cutting-edge technologies, the artificial intelligence, and having data scientists to churn that data into the usable data. This can only be achieved by harnessing new technologies to optimize data processes. And finally, we expect that the PNSD 3 will increase data use through data openness and transparency and empower stakeholders to access and use data. James talked about uptake. For the last 24 years, Uganda Bureau of Statistics has been very good at producing data. But having that data used and uptaken by policymakers has remained at a low standard. So we expect that by the end of this PNSD 3, we shall have addressed the issue of data access. We must have friendly dissemination portals, the websites, and other tools. We should increase our communication strategies, but also enforce the use of this data in the day-to-day policy planning and policy making. Ladies and gentlemen, statistics that are not planned may neither meet the requisite quality standards nor serve as a tool for planning and decision making. Therefore, quality statistics require improved data production systems at all levels that can effectively and efficiently produce the needed statistics. Sustainable data production systems can be developed and maintained through the design and implementation of strategic plan for statistics, which are integrated within the policy processes and cover all data producers and users. The strategies for development of statistics provide a robust framework and action plan for building statistical capacity to meet both current and future data needs. I want to report to you, Chief Guest, Honorable Ministers, and guests here, that to date, over 200 ministry department agencies, local government, and CSOs have developed their strategic plans aligned to PNSD 3. The remaining others, of these, actually 112 are local governments, especially districts. We need to go to the higher local governments. The municipalities are now cities and even local councils. MDAs, we have some coverage. We want to load the Uganda Police, Uganda Prison Services, and other ministries that have set up Bank of Uganda, Ministry of Finance, and other ministries that have set up the strategic plan for statistics. There is much focus on improving administrative data systems and harnessing the non-traditional data sources, as I said. Honorable Minister for Finance, we wish to make few requests to you and the Cabinet that we need to establish functioning statistical units in all ministries, departments, and agencies and local governments. And these units must be resourced with qualified statisticians and demographers and IT specialists, and armed with cutting-edge IT infrastructure, so that we can be able to moderate the administrative data, but also harness the big data that exists within the space. We have been paying lip service to statistics. There is one thing having a plan, but also having a functioning unit that makes it move. Uganda Bureau of Statistics being a coordinator cannot be everywhere. We want that the ministries, departments establish these. There are some ministries that have established the statistical units. Only what we hear is that they are lacking funding and resourcing in terms of IT. The other request, Chief Guest, is that all technical papers, plans, cabinet memorandum submitted for funding should be supported by statistics, by evidence, as a condition for funding. Because we know that if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. Or the corollary is you cannot manage what you cannot measure. And also some other activists have said, if you don't count, if you are not counted, then you don't count. You not count in the national development processes and also in the funding. So as to advocate for use of statistics, all government agencies and local government should support their proposals with evidence. And this will help also in monitoring development progress. As we move through the lower middle income that we estimate, we think we shall achieve by 30th June, to higher middle income, and then higher income. Countries like Singapore, in 1960s were behind Uganda. In fact, when I visited there with some people from Europe, I was given a free pass entry. They said, Uganda, you are big people, you are donors. People from Kenya were saying, hey, why is Uganda not requiring visas? Only to learn that earlier in the years, Uganda was a big tiger. But now we remained behind. And one way to achieve that status, to recapture it, is using statistics in planning and policy formulation. And on this note, we would like to thank various institutions which have designed their strategic plans and who have manned the statistics units. I mentioned Uganda Police, I mentioned Uganda Prison Services, I mentioned Bank of Uganda, I mentioned Ministry of Agriculture. Those ones have functioning statistical offices. There is a CSO, which I've forgotten, which has also set up, and Uganda Kingdom. We shall encourage all other kingdoms to develop strategic plans for statistics and manage them, use the data to plan for their cultural institutions. Of course, as a national statistical system coordinators, we shall harvest that data. We encourage those who haven't yet established the statistical units and those who have not yet developed their strategic plans for statistics to put in more effort to do so. As I conclude, I wish to once again call upon all of us to embrace the PNSD 3 to ensure successful implementation in order to produce quality statistical indicators to enable government achieve the mission of transforming Uganda to the lower then higher middle income economy. And as the Bureau, we pledge to continuously engage all stakeholders in building and strengthening our national statistical system to respond to all existing and emerging statistical needs in the country. And with these few remarks, I would like to invite the chairperson of Uganda Bureau of Statistics Board to come and give his opening remarks, and eventually he knows what he will do. I will not give him instructions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Executive Director, Dr. Chris Muchiza, Honorable Minister of State, Minister of Finance, Planning and Rural Development, in charge of planning, Honorable Amos Rugorobi, and the Honorable Ministers present here. We have permanent secretaries present, and the Office of the Prime Minister represented by Honorable Kasule Robert. We have board members present, the Executive Director, Development Partners, representatives from ministries, departments, and agencies, and all protocol observed. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics and my own behalf, I am pleased to welcome you to this morning as we converge for the launch of the institutional committees that will spearhead the operationalization of the third plan for national statistical development. The development of the plan, as you have heard, was conducted in a collaboration with ministries, departments, and agencies, and is aligned to the data requirements of the third plan for national development and other international frameworks. Honorable Minister in charge of planning and other participants, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, as a coordinator of the national statistical system, appreciates the need for Uganda as a country to build a unified, evidence-based, and all-inclusive national statistical system to generate quality statistics, to inform national, regional, and international development agencies. And indeed, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics has performed very well over the years and continues to act as a benchmark in the region and the entire continent for best practices. The board which I chair applauds the Bureau for living up to its mandate, effectively building and coordinating the national statistical system to avail required statistical indicators for our National Development Plan 3 and also the international commitments. Mr. Mwonge has highlighted the reports we send to the international agencies, including the UN General Assembly. Of course, now here we have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, African Agenda 2063, plus the East African one of 2050. In our recent first Sustainable Development Goals Conference, which ended last week on Friday, it was noted that Uganda now is able to measure progress on sustainable development using 119 data points. As we are aware, internationally, we have 17 goals with 169 targets and measured by 232. But for the case of Uganda, the data which is eligible according to the Bureau of Statistics, is 201 indicators. 201 indicators are eligible for Uganda. But the report noted that Uganda now was able to measure 119 indicators. 2 years ago, when Uganda developed the voluntary national report, its second one that was presented by the President, the General Assembly, Uganda was able to report using 92 indicators. But now we have moved it to 119 indicators. But remember, the indicators which are eligible for Uganda are 201. So we still have a longer way to go. And we pray that we move to those indicators. And therefore, we urge the Bureau and your partners, whom you have called today, to work together and make sure that we are able to report 201. According to the SDG African report on sustainable development progress, which was released last year, we were able to compare 92 indicators, and I'm happy that Uganda had those 92 indicators which you had. So we compared with other African countries. There are 52 which participated, and Uganda was ranked as number 18 out of the 52 countries in Africa, and we had 54% out of 52 African average. So we were able to rely on the data which the Bureau produced. So we thank you, but again, as I've indicated, we need to work hard and work with our partners to make sure that we are able to measure all the indicators. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are already aware, the Uganda Bureau of Statistics is mandated to develop and maintain an efficient national statistical system so as to ensure collection, analysis, and publication of integrated, relevant, and reliable timely data. As you are already aware, the Bureau, of course, since it has that mandate, then we need to concentrate, because we have information you are telling us. And I'm sure, of course, as indicated by the Honorable Minister in charge of the Bureau, that we need to disseminate this information. People need to know. We have got quite a lot. We are talking of reaching the middle income status, yes. But what does it mean? And what did we use to measure that one? So we need to unpack that, analyze it, and we should be able to disseminate the information. And I'm happy that you have brought all the people on board here. Starting from today, people must know about this statistical plan which the minister is not launching, but launching the structures that will be used to implement the statistical plan. So in order to avail timely and quality statistical indicators, there is a need for collaboration among the various ministries and departments as indicated. And with collaboration, we can use the PNSD 3 to further build a robust national statistical system with the capacity to respond to the ever-emerging statistical landscape in the data ecosystem. In an effort to involve non-state actors in the official data production, the ED has talked about, the Bureau, with support from UN Women, developed the citizen-generated data toolkit. This toolkit is very important. It was launched by the Honorable Minister of State in charge of planning at the beginning of this month. And it is supposed to be guiding in the data collection, processing, analysis, and reporting. Other than relying on surveys, censuses, which take a longer time to be conducted, we should be using this toolkit, which the minister launched at the beginning of this month. And this toolkit, of course, will be guiding the ministries, departments, and agencies. Because this citizen-generated data is data produced by the organizations to directly monitor, demand, or drive change on issues that affect your institutions. And here, of course, you can use different methods, mixed methods, so that you can collect information that your policymakers can use for taking decisions. So we should not be now waiting for the census data, but we can utilize that to collect information and make sure we are able to report it to our politicians. So I therefore call upon Ubos, now that it was launched, to make sure that you train the ministries, all of the ministers. That's why you see the ministers coming from different ministries to attend to this launch, because they know the importance of data. And it is our responsibility as a bureau to make sure that we take lead and train. Of course, yes, funding is a problem, but even with a little funding, let us make a difference. It is therefore my appeal to the different players in the national statistical system for successful implementation of the plan, which will require all the ministries, departments, and agencies, all accounting officers and chief executive officers, including higher local governments, and then Uganda Bureau of Statistics, of course, partnering with key government institutions. And here, you have a committee usually led by the Office of the Prime Minister. You have National Planning Authority. You have Minister of Finance, Minister of Local Government. You must make sure that you make this committee very active. And we are very happy that the Minister is going to launch the structure for implementing this PNSD. And for your information, we are almost covering 1 year. Next week, we shall have covered the first year in its implementation. So we are no longer talking of 5 years. It is only 4 years. And if we are to achieve the 4 years, definitely we have to work harder. The structures, of course, as indicated by Mr. Mwanga, which are going to be launched by the minister, are very important. And of course, for the first one, the minister has already invited members of the steering committee to find the time and meet. Already the first political one, because they have received the letter to that effect, have been invited. So we shall call upon the Bureau to make sure that all other structures start immediately. It is our hope that when all that has been implemented, we shall have reliable statistics to track progress in the implementation of PNSD, of National Development Plan 3 and other development frameworks. I would like to appreciate the reports from the government of Uganda, African Development Bank, and UN Women, and the program of making women and girls count that supported the development plan. Ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome you to this launch, and I call upon you to support the implementation, monitoring, and reporting of the PNSD3 for better quality data and service delivery in the country. I therefore take this singular opportunity to invite our Minister in charge of planning to address the gathering, and of course we'll be introducing the ministers, and then finally launch the structure, the implementing structure we have been waiting for. Honorable Minister, you are most welcome, and we thank you once again for finding time to come and launch the structures. Thank you very much for listening to me. Yeah, thank you very much. I think we shall invite the ministers to greet the people. Thank you very much for accepting, and we shall start with you, Honorable Minister, to come and greet your people, because local government is very important. We all belong to local governments, so thank you for coming. Right, Honorable.
Good morning, everyone. Although I'm a girl guide and our motto is be prepared. Although I'm a girl guide and our motto is be prepared, I must accept that I have been ambushed this time. Because the program is out and I wasn't surfacing anywhere to say anything. But nevertheless, I want to thank the organizers of this ceremony, and I accepted to be a member long ago, but I just have one observation, very brief. I agree that statistics are a lead tool to accurate planning, and accurate planning means accurate budgeting, and accurate budgeting leads to accurate and precise implementation of all programs, government and otherwise. But what I've been experiencing, having been a civil servant all my life, is the various sources of data confuse the proper planning that would be made. I served in the education sector. The districts would generate data, the Ministry of Education collects data, the Ubos collects data, and in the end, we find the number of students included in the final document is either higher or lower. When you go to the number of teachers, higher or lower. And this calls for review, which takes a lot of money. Now the public service comes to say, the data on the teacher's payroll is wrong. Now they have to go through the entire exercise. Pupil student census, go back to the schools, collect. So harmonization is what I would emphasize, so that in the end, there is no doubt, refusal, grumbling, and requirement for revision at such a short notice. So it's one of the things that have been talked about by Mr. Mwonge, and I'm emphasizing that we pick it, implement it for accurate data. The second one, we haven't been preparing the lower cadres that are hands-on. For example, I would call for a lot of training, refresher courses, especially now that we have introduced a new program of parish development model. To start with, it needs a lot of data collection, computation, and all that. But here we have our parish chiefs, our diploma holders, and not specifically a diploma in this field. So we shall need a lot of your help, private sector, other willing NGOs, to come down and help us on continuous training at the base, so that the program can be very well made and it achieves its goal of elevating the 39% citizens who are below the average line. People in the villages who can not afford 3 meals. So those are the people government is targeting to start benefiting from the parish development model, to receive money at household level, implement, utilize, get profit, take back to the pocket of the circle at the parish development model, where we have a parish development committee. So if our parish chiefs don't get good data, accurate data, timely submission, then the program will not excel. But I have hope, with all these combined efforts, I know we shall succeed. I promise to work very hard on the committee, do what is assigned to me to do, because the ministry where I'm located is the engine of implementation of all the government programs. So I pledge to work hard, to be committed, loyal, and transparent. Thanks for listening to me. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Victoria Rusoke Businje. You have made it, and of course, 4 key points. One on harmonization, which we had not talked about. Don't you see, if we had not invited you to talk, it would have been a problem. This is very important. The other one is preparing the lower cadres for hands-on, and of course, as in charge of local government, this is very pertinent and very important. And you have also highlighted on the parish model, the 39%, so we thank you so much for even committing yourself to be with us in the struggle for collecting timely data. I also now take this opportunity to welcome Honorable Grace Mary Mugasha, the Minister of State for Public Service. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for coming.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, our dear senior civil servants, and first of all, the lead minister, Honorable Amos Lugolobi, my sister from local government, Honorable Victoria, the executive director, the board members, and the media. I'm Grace Mary, Mrs. Mugasa, the former mayor of Hoima City, an ex-official member of parliament, and by the grace of God, the Minister of State for Public Service. I'm happy to be with you today, and I'm sorry for coming in a little late, but I had already notified the organizers because I had to reach office and sign some documents. But I am very grateful for this organization because I have worked closely with field staff from Ubos when I was a mayor. And sometimes I would quarrel seriously because some data was not accurate. And I want to agree with my sister that if we want to deliver effective services, we must have accurate data for proper planning. I remember we were a little embarrassed during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown when everybody was asking, how many traders do we have? How many people are supposed to benefit from the COVID relief fund? Who has the data? Is it Ministry of Trade? Is it Ministry of Finance? Is it Ubos? So we really had a challenge, and I felt probably I would come to Ubos and talk about it. Fortunately, I'm now part of this family of Ubos, and we shall discuss in details what I've seen while I was working as a mayor. We should be able to support our statisticians at the district and municipal levels, city levels. They should be empowered to do their work because they are down there at the grassroots. But oftentimes, their docket is not well funded. They want to do the work, but they cannot be facilitated properly to make sure they get accurate data. We shall support them to do that work. The good thing, we know the local, and now we are at the center. God will always provide for us. I want to thank you for this invitation, and I want to wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much. Except we are working together with Ubos as Minister of Public Service for National Service Delivery Survey, and we shall be unpacking it for the public to check ourselves how we have performed in terms of service delivery. And we shall use that tool to check on how we deliver services. The rest we shall discuss as we go on. Thank you. May I now?
Thank you very much, Honorable Mary, for the wise words and, of course, commitment, accurate data dissemination, and support to all our initiatives, very important, and we thank you very much for that. So I now take this opportunity to invite our minister in charge of Uganda Bureau of Statistics, but of course planning, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Amos Gorobi, to address the gathering, and we ask you to launch officially the implementation structure. Thank you very much.
Fellow ministers who are here with me this morning to launch the structure for the PNSD, the chairperson Ubos, the executive director Ubos, development partners, if any, the various representatives from government ministries, departments and agencies, the media fraternity, and to you all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first begin by appreciating my colleagues, the ministers, who have found time from their busy schedule to be with us and to endorse their acceptance to be part of the plan for the National Statistical Development plan, for this plan, to be part of this structure for implementing that plan. So I want to thank them so much, because without the various ministries, this plan cannot be implemented. The success of any plan can only be seen through its implementation. And there has always been these statements that Uganda is very good at passing policies, formulating plans, but we're very weak at implementing them. So we need the commitment of the various actors to implement these plans so that they do not remain on paper. They are not shelved, they are actually implemented. And I believe if we implemented these plans, Uganda would not be where it is today. Maybe before I make my presentation from the official script, I should say this, that statistics has moved on. We have been relying on statistics where people spend a lot of time in the field and, spend a lot of time compiling, collating that data before they can report. These days we are talking about real-time statistics. And as we talk about this plan, we should actually be thinking about real-time statistics. Minister Rusuke just talked about the parish development model. We are talking about real-time statistics so that at any one moment, we can know about what is happening to household X in parish Y. Because we can now capture statistics using the geo-referencing system, Google. So we can have the coordinates about every household. And therefore, we can know through that GIS positioning information relating about a particular household. And indeed, according to the plan of what they are going to do, Mr. Mwonge did not tell you, this is what they are going to be doing. We are generating a solution working with the Ministry of ICT, a virtual related system, a digital related system. We shall have a dashboard, and as statistics being collected, it is being reported immediately through that system. So that is the system that we should work for. That is the system that we should build. Dr. Mukiza, that is the system our national statistical system should adopt. It should be electronic, should be digital, and should report in real time. And as we talk about commissioning or launching these structures, we should be working towards obtaining the necessary devices, the necessary gadgets that will enable us to collect this data. Because the data is electronic, so we shall minimize the use of paper in collecting these statistics. So statistics are therefore moved on, and that's what we need to be doing. Now, planning is not going to wait for the Bureau of Statistics to generate statistics after 1 year. So this planning will require statistics as it is being collected. Right now, you know, I'm the minister in charge of these statistics, but also planning. Right now, at the level of planning, we are doing the mid-term review of the National Development Plan that they were talking about. As we do a review, we need a lot of statistics on how we have been able to perform in various sectors. Have we performed or we have not performed? So we need statistics. And the statistics that is telling us that you have been performing and you are on the right track. And then in our medium-term review of the plan, we shall say that let's continue. There are programs that we are going to suspend because they are not performing. And it's statistics that should give us the evidence that that particular program is not performing. You know very well that the NDP3 is structured in terms of programs. We have 20 programs in there. And we did that to avoid a situation where sectors we are working in isolation of one another. Now we are talking about a collection of different sectors to deliver a common goal, a common objective. So we shall be assessing ourselves on performance. And real-time statistics is very important. We cannot run away from statistics. And that's why we need to ensure that we build the relevant structures, we build the necessary capacities to deliver these required statistics. The head of state actually recognizes statistics. And you know that we are now implementing, Honorable Mugasa should be informing you, a policy where we have looked at the scientists with a different eye as a special category. In that regard, they are not special for the sake of it, but because in terms of what we need, scientists have been considered to be so critical in taking forward our country. Therefore, among these scientists, the head of state himself said statisticians are part of that group. And therefore, they must be looked at in terms of what they are paid. So that, I think, speaks volumes in terms of how important statistics is to this country. So as you go to work, make sure that you appreciate that you are being considered among the most important people in this country you who are responsible for statistics and gathering statistics, the country cannot really move without these statistics, I can tell you. The other day, the president in his State of Nation address reported to the country that we have now attained the middle income status of the lower category. He could not say that without being informed by Dr. Mukiza that this is where your GDP per capita is. And that is the importance of statistics. And that takes me to the question of disseminating statistics so that people understand it. Dissemination of statistics is not simply about throwing reports out there. People must be able to understand these statistics and to interpret it. As soon as the president made that statement, of course he said, he put a disclaimer that we have to look at this indicator for the next 3 or 2 years to see if it is maintained. Then we can declare ourselves to be a middle income country. That disclaimer was there. But what I'm saying is that these indicators must be understood by the population. I will disseminate them. Because not everybody is a statistician to understand that when you say we have attained middle income status, what it means. In fact, a certain journalist called me in the middle of a program. They were discussing, there was a panel discussing this middle income status. They called me and he said, what is your take about this? I explained, but I was immediately attacked by the people who were on the panel to say that, what is this you are talking about middle income when people are languishing in poverty? You know? So they could not understand it. It was like middle income means that everybody is earning $1,046. That's the way they interpreted that statistic. How can you talk like that? How can you misrepresent facts when people are poor? My people he gave his village, they're poor. Without understanding what this indicator means. Because you are using one figure, 1,046. That's where we are. And you say that this man here is earning that $1,046 when actually he's earning $100. But that is statistics. If you are lazy, you are not working, statistics will not wait for you. This Mwonge who is earning $10,000 will represent that picture that Uganda is earning $1,046 dollars. Now, so Dr. Mukisa, Dr. Albert, you are challenged on how to disseminate statistics. People must understand these indicators and what they present. You know, they are not going to sit back and think that Uganda will wait for them. For us, we shall report the indicators as they are. If we have 100 Mwonges presenting the $1,046 that takes us to the income, to the level that makes Uganda a middle income country, we shall report that. So you who is lazy, you shall be left behind. But of course we're implementing as government programs that are intended to uplift everybody. The inclusive program, that's why in the budget you had, that the theme is about full monetization of the economy. Full monetization means that everybody is participating in the monetary economy, is able to buy something, Hence, the parish development model. It's an equalization arrangement to get everybody on board. And that's what we are exactly doing for this country. But even then, you see some people, they are just elusive. They don't want to participate. They are just talking politics all the time, you know. They are over in politics. They are not bothered. They are playing games, mweso, in the villages. And this is what they are doing. But they're being told the parish development model is there now. In fact, we ministers were launched yesterday. I'm supposed to be in the field right now. I was deployed in Greater Mukono to go and sensitize the people about the parish development model and how it is going to help them get out of poverty. So the government has very good intentions towards the people, but sometimes the people let us down. So I want to emphasize this issue of real-time data so that we get to know how well we are performing, especially with our households, with the population, to make sure as we report middle income status, almost everybody is there, is closer to the average, because this is an average. You know, we don't want people to be so far away from the average. We don't want a Gini coefficient that does not represent equality in terms of income. So real-time statistics is what we need to work for. As we construct roads, we need to know how many kilometers of roads we have constructed. We don't have to wait for 2 years before Dr. Mukiza can tell us how many kilometers of roads that we have constructed. We are now talking about import substitution. As we pass policies, or we make policies on what to produce through import substitution, we need real-time statistics. How much rice are we importing before we import substitute rice? As we want to process certain products, we want to know how much of those products we are importing so that we can produce them. So the essence of real-time statistics. Now let me turn to the script. I once again say good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me much pleasure to join you this morning. What is it? I'm now speaking. It gives me much pleasure to join you this morning at this official launch of the implementation structures for the third plan for the National Statistical Development, PNSD 3, for our country. I would like to thank you for finding time to attend this historical occasion. Your presence here attests to the importance you attach to the plan for the National Statistical Development as a framework for delivering much needed statistics and statistical product for the country. Today, managing the economy in this post-COVID era becomes complicated and challenging without accurate and reliable statistics. I should add timely statistics to guide policy and decision making. It was once said by Copeland, like Dr. Mukiza said, that if you can't measure it, you cannot manage it, which indeed is a reality for planners, policy and decision makers. The development and implementation of the plan for national statistical development in the national statistical system is a critical pillar for strengthening statistical capacity to develop and produce statistics that respond to data demands of various development plan frameworks. There are several international, regional, and national development frameworks that require data and statistics to measure their successful outcomes and impact upon the society. Without statistics, it's difficult to know whether we are making progress or we are retrogressing as a nation. Therefore, statistics becomes an essential and integral part of our development procedures. The realization of Vision 2040 is anchored upon 5-year, actually 6-year development plans spearheaded by the National Planning Authority in liaison with our stakeholders. As a country, we are committed to implement NDP 3 as a vehicle to achieve desired socio-economic development for societal transformation. The NDP 3 has 20 programs whose implementation will require enormous data and statistics to monitor and evaluate its achievements. Statistics, therefore, is a game changer in all these development endeavors. Let me go off the script once again. Honorable Kasule there, Sebunya, is now the one in charge of the Prime Minister's delivery unit. I think he can stand for recognition. He's a common figure that you know. Recently, I was in a meeting of ministers of finance on the continent, and the issue of development, delivery units was emphasized. Delivery units are very strong units in various governments across Africa and Europe and the Western world. In fact, a person in charge of a delivery unit is a very powerful person. He speaks directly to the president of that country. He makes sure that whatever the president commits to deliver to the country is actually delivered. So when we are talking about delivering our Vision 2040, that is the man. I thought that I should show you. He must deliver Vision 2040. And when we see him there, don't be surprised. He's there to deliver our Vision 2040 through the 6 national development plans. So he will be reaching you wherever you are on projects, government programs, to make sure that they are delivered. And one of the tools he's going to be using is actually the statistical tools to inform him that this one is delivering, this one is not delivering. So his work thrives a lot on statistics. I thought I should go off the script to make that statement. The PNSD 3, whose vision is to attain, listen to this, the vision of the PNSD 3 is to attain a world-class national statistical system. And the theme is agenda for innovation. To be world-class, you need to innovate. Agenda for innovation, modernization, and transformation. That's why I talked about those electronic gadgets. You cannot be a world-class NSS without those gadgets. You cannot be using these traditional questionnaires, collecting statistics anymore. So agenda for innovation, modernization, and transformation of the national statistical system is fully aligned to the NDP3. Under NDP3, Chapter 26 elaborates the statistics requirement for the framework, including indicators in the program, action, implementation plans, and the national indicator framework. Dr. Albert talked about the indicators, and you can realize how far we are from what is expected. We are required to report on 201 indicators, and he said we are reporting on how many? 100 what? 119. So we are still performing very poorly. We need to cover all the indicators, and that capacity must be there. On my part, I have a duty to make sure that the statistical system is properly financed to deliver. So I'll work towards. I've already started, but I'm going to work towards that. I'm going to intensify my efforts to make sure that the system is properly resourced. The plan defines the strategic direction of the national statistical system for the next 5 years. We are told it's now next 4 years. In line with the Bureau's mandate, this plan will facilitate the coordination, supervision, and monitoring of the national statistical system. The implementation of the PNSD-3 is key to production of requisite data for monitoring the performance of the country in achieving the middle income status, including NDP 320 programs. I'm informed that all agencies implementing PNSD 3 have developed their strategic plans for statistics aligned to it and NDP 3. I urge all stakeholders, ministries, departments, and agencies, higher local governments, civil society organizations, among others, to heed Ubos' call to this endeavor to ensure right data is provided at the right time for the right purpose. In this regard, I call upon all state and non-state actors that have not developed their statistical plans to speed up their development so as to fully participate in the implementation of the PNSD 3 in order to provide policymakers with a much needed data. Going forward, and to sustain the statistical development momentum we have generated, and we need to enhance data governance and transformational leadership at all levels. Acquisition of new knowledge, capabilities, as well as strategic skills, including data science, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, will enable us to actualize new data ecosystems to unlock the full data potential in Uganda and in Africa in general. I was at Makerere at the Statistics Institute a few months ago, and what I observed was that that small house comprising the Institute of Statistics, which I left in the early 80s, was still the same. Very poor structure. Very poor structure. How can we promote statistics like that? In fact, we had a very serious conversation, and we are now formulating a project to construct a building that befits, you know. It's giving us a very poor image. Your son looking at that structure will say, I think statistics in Uganda is not important. And that is the place, the factory for producing the statisticians. Can you imagine? You know, and it was a regional, and it still is, isn't it? A regional institute of statistics. I went through that institute. I'm also a statistician, by the way. You know, I went through that institute. I was shocked. I had taken many years without going there. But in building these capacities, we all statisticians should advocate that that building is constructed to give us a good image. I thought so. Now the parish model. The government of Uganda launched the parish development model and its attendant pillars with a drive to transform the grassroots and bring them into the money economy. They need to start touching cash. So the success of this major initiative and all the other government programs relies on quality statistics to measure progress made and, where necessary, identify gaps for further improvement. In fact, as we speak now, his team is already in the field, isn't it? They are collecting data. And the Ministry of ICT, using experts, gurus in software development, they have formulated a home-based solution and a dashboard for processing, analyzing, and presenting that data. So homegrown solutions to modernize statistics and reporting. Accordingly, the parish was adopted as the smallest unit for planning and development for socio-economic transformation, with the aim of lifting households in the subsistence economy from poverty. Now that lifting from poverty is what statistics is going to measure. So we shall be monitoring how the statistics, they are going to be compiling, what do you call it, the wealth ranking. The wealth ranking of the households. And that one will be monitored consistently over the years as we intervene. Because we are saying each year we are sending 100 million shillings to the parish, and we expect at least a household to get a maximum of 1 million shillings. Now, how has that transformed that household? It is this bureau to tell us that, oh, this guy started with 0. Now, his income is 200,000 shillings per month. So that's going to be the work of the bureau to report. To measure this statistical information is required at the household and community level. I'm reliably informed that the bureau has set up a robust community data system in response to this development to collect and report information on many development indicators and information on Uganda's communities at parish level. The establishment of PDM data structures would strengthen the administrative data systems at all levels to complement census and survey data. Moreover, other data sources like the big data, citizen-generated data produced by the civil society organizations and the private sector and others should be explored to bridge the data gaps. So I think we are making very good progress in that area. Now I now turn to the PNSD 3 structures, which is actually the reason why we are here. The implementation of PNSD 3 has an elaborate structure spanning from the national to individual institutions that will identify national statistical priorities and implement them accordingly. The main national PNSD 3 implementation structures include, number 1, high-level statistical steering committee, which I will chair and comprises colleagues from other ministries and heads of agencies. Some of them are just here with you this morning. Can you clap for them? Now, the other team within this structure is the technical committee of the board. The third one is the National Interagency Statistics Committee. And the fourth one is the National Statistics Committee. I hope you elaborated those. Now, others are MDA, Higher Local Government, and CSO Statistics Committee. So that is the PNSD 3 structure. The PNSD 3, therefore, with all its implementation structures, must focus supporting the implementation of government programs by availing the much-needed statistical indicators. We all must realign our efforts to build a national statistical system that serves a bedrock for the success of government programs. On our part, the government is ready to continuously invest and make more resources readily available to support statistical work and development in the country. These structures should be able to fix most of the challenges facing the national statistical system relating to adequate staffing levels, capacity gaps, poor statistical infrastructure, and poor administrative data structures at all levels. So I challenge you to compile these challenges, those staffing gaps that you have indicated, and other capacity gaps, like we have committed ourselves. We need to build a robust statistical system, a state-of-the-art. In fact, you called it a world class. So let's, between me and you, share this information, and I will work with these ministers to make sure that the statistical system is robust. I wish to reiterate, ladies and gentlemen, that the goal of the Uganda government is to transform the country from a predominantly peasant lifestyle to a modern and prosperous status as enshrined in Vision 2040. This goal can only be strengthened with quality official statistics being made readily available and accessible, and each one of us playing their role. For instance, all committees and all the respective ministries, departments, and agencies should deliver on their part and perform their roles under the PNSD 3 for effective monitoring and the service delivery in the country. I now take this honor to launch the plan for national statistical development committees. Okay, I think she has enough documents to give to the various committees as I launch the various committees. Now the high-level statistical steering committee, to which I'm the chair, and since I'm the one handing over the document, I think I'll request Honorable Rusoke to stand in for me to receive that document. Can you give me the document? I think for the cameras, you... Give me the document. Okay, now on this team, we have myself, Dr. Albert Byamugisha, Professor Pamela Mbabazi, Honorable Grace Mary Mugasa from Ministry of Public Service, Honorable Victoria Rusoke Businje, Ministry of Local Government, Honorable Peace Mutuzo, Ministry of Gender, Honorable General David Muhozi, Ministry of Internal Affairs, and Bank of Uganda. So, on behalf of that committee, we launch by delivering these documents to Honorable Rusoke. Thank you very much. Yeah, you stood on the wrong side of the cameras. Oh, okay. Okay, I do the exercise again.
Extend.
Mm-hmm.
Can you extend?
There are other members of this team whom I've read who should be here.
We extend, sir.
We extend, we widen. Okay. Is there any other member? I think Dr. Mugisha is here.
I'm here.
You are here? Okay. Okay. So I now take this honor to hand over these documents for the launch of the PSND 3 structure, committee number 1, the high-level committee. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. The second committee is actually, do you still have more documents? The technical committee of the board. I keep recycling these ones. You are very broke, eh? To print enough copies. Dr. Chris, eh? Where is your team, the technical committee? Okay. Okay, they should have been here. Okay, that's now the technical committee of the PNSD 3. Okay? Please clap for them. They have a very big responsibility. They are going to be the technocrats behind this. Okay, then the National Interagency Statistics Committee. Who are the members? Can you read them? Yeah, let's have some ministries on the interagency.
Those are representatives, you can come here.
Just mention them. Any ministries that are part of this system, please come forward. This is now the interagency PNSD 3 committee, okay? So we send you to go and work. You have been commissioned to work. Okay, thank you very much. Now we have the National Technical Statistics Committee. Who are your members? Can you give me the copy too? Okay. This is now the National Statistics Committee. Okay. You are launched to go and work. Thank you very much. Then finally, all the MDAs, higher local government, and CSO statistics committees. Now, all of you, represented by who? At least let me get 2 people to represent you. 4 volunteers, 4 volunteers. You are one of them. Bravo Kasule. Sevunya, please come. Prime Minister's office, the biggest users of statistics. Okay? So, you are commissioned to go and work on behalf of all the MDAs. Thank you very much, all participants, for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable State Minister for Planning, for launching the committees. Now that we have the committees in place, the work can start, okay? We are going to have a media briefing outside where, a photo first, okay. We are going to first have a photo with the state ministers. Then we shall have the media briefing outside while others take their breakfast. Then we shall come back. We still have 3 items. We still have the plenary, some discussions, and we shall have closing remarks from Mr. Kasule. So as we go for the photo, the media briefing, others we shall enjoy our cup of tea. And I'm giving it 1 hour, and we should be able to come back. And kindly, 30 minutes? Okay. Okay, time bad. We are giving it 30 minutes. Kindly come back after 30 minutes. I think we are on time, aren't we? We are on time. So let's give it 30 minutes, and kindly remember we have lunch. And for all non-Ubos staff, you may visit for administrative issues, kindly visit the desk at the entrance, but that should be after the meeting for administrative issues. Thank you for listening.